funny because this podcast has evolved, and I've noticed that since the beginning, I blab on too much, and
Right.
I want to kind of zero in on matters that are industry and energy efficiency related, but at the same time, I want to also explore the human element of things. So,
I've been following your podcast since the beginning. I think it was Rick Miller, was it the first one?
yeah, Ricky
Yep.
Bobby from Barrier Science Group.
Denise as well, I was watching.
Yes, thank you. How are we doing?
Doing well. I'm
Okay.
really honored to be here.
Oh, thank you so much.
I think this is great. There's opportunities for us to expand a little bit more in the digital marketing side of things. Energy advisors are typically in the older generation, paper-based. But I think there's a push for a new generation of energy advisors.
But before we talked about this, I want to talk about something a little bit more that is near and dear to my heart. So,
Right.
Mr. Abraham is a service organization manager from this wonderful nonprofit company called Greensavers. And before he talks about what Greensavers are, I'm going to give you guys an opinion of what I know of Greensavers.
All right.
I first came across Greensavers president, Mr. Vlad, am I saying that correct?
Yeah.
Vladin, when I was 27 years old. So that was probably 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I was just thinking. So that is exactly 14 years ago. I believe that there are nonprofit organizations that have been around for over 35 years.
That's right.
That is and they're involved in all energy efficiency matters related programs as it pertains to residentials, and they have expanded. They're predominantly functioning in Ontario, but they have reach in other provinces as well.
Right now, yes, mostly in Ontario, but we are looking to expand.
Yeah. So 27 years old, full of school debts. And back then I was in the solar business. So I used to install solar water heating systems and solar PV systems. And then my business partner at the time, so the company that we started from the back of a truck was called Lumen Earth Limited. And my partner at the time says, hey, there's this wonderful solar rebate program available, and there's an information session and we should attend to.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, let's go. And then we went to that information session. Little that I knew, Greensaver was in charge of managing that programs and the rebates that it pertained to it. So that was my first kind of point of contact with Greensavers. And I remember, like, as a kid in the industry at that time, I admire the company so much. I still do. I admire the company so much, and I was like, wow, like, imagine one day, if we can be at that level or be playing the game at some level that Greensaver does. And it's great to have you here today, from one SO manager to another, to kind of continue this conversation and expand on the horizon.
Awesome. Wow, I did not know that story.
Yeah, I always keep one in the back. This is what happened. I still remember Vlad going up there and breaking down the solar water heating project. It was a solar water heating system.
Yes.
And back then we were involved in it. I spent quite a bit of time in China bringing panels here. I installed one at my house.
Yep.
I installed one for my few of my friends.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't friends anymore.
Oh no, that's not a good sign.
But it was the necessary failure I needed to be here today, because the Lumen Earth death gave birth to Canada Energy Audit.
Nice.
I remember that very vividly. And you know what the funny thing is? Because of that expertise, I was able to join Enbridge on their solar water heating pilot, which allowed me an invitation to Enbridge's HER program.
Right.
So everything is interconnected one way or another.
Yeah.
So it's just one big circle, my friend. It just keeps
good.
on and
That's
on.
good. You got to build that investments early, right?
Yeah, I know. So tell me about you, Abraham. What kind of a bad man are you within the context of Greensaver and beyond?
Well, I am, first and foremost, I call myself an energy advisor, because that's where I started, and the people that I manage, I think they respect that of me, because I've been in the field and I know the problems that they face, and I can be sympathetic with them, and also they know that when they call me, I will give them an answer right away. I will pick up the phone because I'm here. I know how it feels to be on the field and not calling the office and them not picking up, and it's frustrating because you need the answer right then and there, right?
We call them pencil pushers. He ain't one of them.
So I think, yes, first and foremost, I'm an energy advisor. My journey to the energy advisor field also began in Greensaver. I started off part-time with Greensaver February of 2017, and I was just a project analyst, part-time project analyst doing modeling. That was the first time I got exposure to our dear friend Hot 2000. Not fun. But there's
we use the word friend very loosely here.
But there's been improvements over the years, so it's been good.
And the word improvement, we're also using that word extremely loosely. Do continue, Abraham. Sorry.
No worries. I understand where you're coming from.
Yes, I know you do.
So then after being a project analyst part-time, I decided, you know what, it seems fun going into the people's homes and talking to customers, helping them out with their energy efficiency questions, problems. And we at Greensaver, we primarily focus on the low-income programs. So that's why we are not-for-profit and we help the low-income Ontarians. We run the HWP Home Winterproofing Program for Enrich in certain territories, as well as the Energy Affordability Program with the IESO in all of Ontario. So, and that's been really what's driving me to work every single day, helping these people and seeing the impact that the team makes, the advisor makes, the modeling team makes, and Greensaver as in general makes to the community, right? That's something that really drives me to go to work every day.
You know, it's funny that you said that. What I love about Greensaver and what I admire about Greensaver is this notion of laying down the path for the next generation, meaning the next service organization and energy. And they may not known this at a conscious level, but I don't think the likes of Canada Energy Audit, SOs, and energy advisors will be around if there wasn't nonprofits like Greensavers trickling back to over 3 decades ago, laying down the path, you know, and I was just a young kid out of university with school debts, sitting in that information session, and I was inspired to pursue this career. And I don't think I would be here today if it wasn't because of those information sessions. So, right. Whether they know it or not, thank you, Vlad. Thank you, Greensavers. You have done us a service, and my goal and what I would love to do in terms of bringing service organization like to this table is to continue on this more at the conscious level maybe, and then kind of like continue on this journey with like-minded individuals, share notes. You know it better than I do. Historically, service organizations, when they come together,
they start pulling each other's hair. You
know what I mean? So you haven't seen the full Ricky Miller video. Okay. At some point, we actually start bare-knuckling each other. No, we didn't. And I want to move away from that. I think there's huge value in giving. And the more you give, you expand the pie and the horizons, and the more let's look at all the opportunities that you and I have been able to explore. If we had that narrow mindset, you'll be doing your own thing and I'll be doing my own. But I think this whole notion of the market is way better than you think, and we are not a few big fish in a small pond goes a long way. Yeah. And, you know, like, I mean, Amerispec is at the forefront of it. Barrier Science Group is at the forefront of it. And I'm happy to see and say that Greensaver is also at the forefront of it. So with that said, like, I wanted to structure this podcast towards the type of values that we can give to our listeners. And I think some of the peoples that are trickling in digital marketing, they're looking for tools and tips and advice. Whether they're existing energy advisors or they want to become an energy advisor, it's a very hot topic, as you know. Yes. Considering Canada Greener Homes initiatives, and everybody also wants the rebate, or they want to become an energy advisor, or maybe a little bit of both. Yes. So let's come up with some hard-hitting questions. Okay. Around the type of advice that we can give to these people from people that have been in this business for a long time. Since I didn't prepare those hard-hitting questions. Okay. Yes, I prepared. So let's just talk about the human element of it. I really want people and the viewers, the entire 6 of them, to kind of get a line of sight on.
I'm included in one.
Yes. And Adam mandatory needs to watch this after. So they kind of get an idea of who we are as persons and what we look forward to. And then kind of, you know, get some advice around life and more specifically within the context of energy efficiency and the profession of energy advisors, should they choose to enter into it.
Sure.
So I always like to start by asking a few questions from my audience, and feel free, and then we can kind of go see where this goes. So
sounds good.
So let's start there. And then you can put it in the context of life, and you can put it in the context of the energy advisor, or you can put it in the context of industry. I'll tell you how you want. So what is one book or resource that or a mindset that you have gifted most, and why?
Wow. That is a very broad, very deep question. I would say we'll start from the life perspective. And I think this is something that is maybe a resource. You can call it a resource. It's my career coach told me once about curiosity conversations. And basically, it's another word for informational interviews. So go out there, talk to people that are in the industry, they're not in the industry, they're, doing something else altogether. Just reach out and say, hey, you know what? I would love to know more about what you do. I'm curious about what you do. And it's partly for, building your network, but also to satisfy your curiosity, right? Because I'm, in general, a curious person. And there's so much things out there that I don't know about.
Right.
And, I want to know more, at least a little bit. If I can know a little bit about finances, I can know a little bit about accounting, I can know a little bit about being an SO, a little bit about, other energy advisors. Like, I'm someone who's addicted to LinkedIn. That's why I've been seeing a lot of Adam recently in LinkedIn.
Adam has also been seeing a lot of Abraham.
Okay. So yeah, just go out there and reach out. And people, you may not expect this, but people are mostly friendly. They respond to you. They'll say, hey, you know what? You're curious about me? That's great. I would love to tell you more about myself and learn more from you as well. So yeah, it's all about getting you out there. Don't be afraid. And my mindset in that is always, how can I help this person, right? It's not about them helping me, but more like, how can I help?
Mm-hmm. And I think to complement to what you said is I'm also from the main mindset. And I always say to people to live life and take actions with courage. It takes courage to step onto someone and talk to them. The world is full of lonely people who are waiting for the other person to come to them. To reach out to them. And I think it takes a lot of courage to approach, and it takes a lot of courage to change hearts and minds. And I remember back in when I was 27, 28, I probably called 6 different service organizations, and they all rejected me. Yes, it was crazy. And nobody, like, it's not structured the way it is right now, where you can submit a piece of paper and you can get a SO license. But I didn't give up, and I had to. It took about 1.5 years to find a service organization who was willing to take me. Part of it was a very closed. Mm-hmm. It was a very close profession. And I think I made things even worse because I had a computer science background. I had 0 building science. And everybody was like, why the hell would I ever want to give you a shot?
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think that was probably the other reason that kind of didn't get me followed. So I would leave it there. What purchase? Tell me one thing that you've purchased that could be $100 or less that has made a significant impact in your life. It could have been a purchase that you made in the past 6 months or a year or longer.
Does it have to be $100 or less?
Don't say a blower door test, because we know that thing is about $8,000.
Another difficult question. What's with all these deep questions?
Most positively impacted your life, $100 or less, within the context of energy efficiency industry or the profession itself, or you can take it to life. If there are interested viewers out there that they have $100 or less in their pocket and they're interested to learn more about this, what's the best bang for their buck?
About the energy advisor industry, let's not get to energy advisor industry, but what I'm thinking about is my notebook. Like this is less than $100, but basically being able to put pen into paper, the thoughts that I have. I've been waking up way too early in the morning this past few months.
What's going on, Abraham? What's going on?
I think having a wedding coming up in 2 weeks has been helping with that. Thank you.
Abraham is getting married.
Yes, I'm getting married.
Ladies, stand down. Okay.
So I think it's brought in a fresh new perspective on how I see my life. Right now, I have to prepare to be a family man. There's a few things I need to get sorted out first. Financial is one of them. But also, being able to have the time to sit down, just write things down, write your thoughts down in the morning. I think that has been really valuable because we live in a day and age where you don't get a chance to think. Like every single second of your life, either you're on your phone looking at social media, or you're busy at work, or you're with your friends. You don't have the time to think.
It's frustrating when you actually think about it.
Yeah, unless you actually set aside time to think about it, right? So that's what I've been doing, and I've been having these Hamed calls it old man walks in the morning, where I just go out for a walk.
Guilty.
Half an hour to 45 minutes, just
Great low impact cardio. Can't run anymore. But let me ask you something. Speaking of old man's walk, haven't you had... Okay, think about that and think about that you being behind the desk. Where have you had some of your most revelations?
Walking. Yeah, because
we need to come up with some sort of an invention, like a portable desk, because we feel like we need our computers and notebooks in order to deliver value, where in reality, some of the best decisions I've made, including hiring Adam, has been doing the walks.
Yeah,
exactly. So you agree with that?
Yes, for sure. Because when you're sitting down with your laptop in front of you, you get ting, 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 messages, notifications everywhere. And you cannot just focus on one thought. Right? You have to really go around, especially as an SOM. Like you get messages from your advisors, from the people under you, from the QAS, from NRCan,
homeowners, contractors.
Exactly. So
Adam and Abraham. It's funny, yeah. Like you do have to make time. It's almost like saying thinking about thinking. Organizing the monkey brain.
Yes.
Like in the morning, so my ritual is, and I'll tell you what the purchase I've made. My ritual is, I use my iPad as the notebook of mine, and I just basically doodle, write, whatever comes into my mind. I do try to do a brain dump. About 15-20 minutes every morning.
Yeah.
And it could be about business. And I try to consciously portion it to business, finance, mental, family, spiritual. I try to cover all categories. I don't tend to do it, but I make a conscious decision to write something within each silo that I deem important or I think I have deficiencies in. You know what I mean? You and I. So let me ask you this question, since you thought it was an easy question. $100 or less. That brought me a lot of value. From an energy advisor perspective, I think one precious book that I've purchased or resource that it was, I believe it's $70 plus tax. It's the CHMC book, the building code.
Okay.
That building code, it's full of goodies. So for people, and Adam, let's put a link on the podcast for that and ask me for that, and then we'll make it happen. I think that book it's one book that it starts basic and it builds its way up, and it's a great book for you to have to write your foundation exams. And it really gives you the context that you need to kind of get your feet into the industry itself. Okay. So that was probably, I would say, $100 or less. That's probably gave me the biggest bang for the buck.
Nice.
That's good. So, let's go a little bit deeper now.
All right. Okay, that wasn't deep enough.
Oh, no, we're going deeper, guys. So, how has a failure or an apparent failure set you up for a later success? Or do you have a favorite failure of yours that you want to discuss?
Favorite failure.
I love failure. You know, Denzel Washington said a beautiful quote. It says, especially this applies to people in their 20s and 30s more, which is me and you.
Okay.
Don't fall backwards, fall forward.
Okay.
And fall forward as often as you can, because there's a lesson there.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me about your favorite failure, Abraham.
My favorite failure. Okay.
It better not be this podcast, by the way. I'm just kidding. I'm
falling forward in this podcast.
Fall, my friend, fall. There's a lesson.
I would say my first job out of my master's degree. So just a little bit of a background from me. I graduated from University of Waterloo with my bachelor's in environmental engineering.
It's the MIT of Canada, ladies and gentlemen, for those
MIT
people.
of Canada with co-ops, and it was 6 years I took.
Oh my God! You really? What was your degree in?
Environmental engineering.
Wow!
Yeah. And then
Bravo.
after that, I realizing that I can make a brilliant product, but if I don't know how to sell it, I would not make an impact at all. So I went to do a master's in social and sustainable business management in Seattle. And coming out of that, I thought my dream job was to be working for one of the top consulting companies, as a sustainability and climate change consultant, which I ended up getting the job with Deloitte. Yeah, that was my dream job. Coming into it, I was like,
much in common.
This is great. I love it. I got my dream job. I will stay here forever. But the first few months in Deloitte, I realized this is not what I want to do. This is not because it's a lot of
like the 85-hour-a-week gig that they were going to give you.
Yes, did not like that as well. It was mostly just talking to customers, but not realizing or not being able to see the impact that I created, or from the research that I've been doing and the suggestions that we've been making. I cannot see what the impact is, because that's the end of our engagement, right? You are hired for 3 months to do a presentation, and then that's it. If they want to hire you for the following, then that's their choice, but most often it's just that one presentation and we're done. And I was like, this is not what I want to do. I realized then that I'm more of a doer, not so much a talker. So I love doing things with my hands.
I could have saved them a few years if you would have just met me. He's all about actions.
Yes, and I think the experience is really good, because one, it makes me realize that what you think of something doesn't mean that it's the truth, right? I was hell-bent on that was my dream job, and it was not the truth. And I was crushed a little bit from it, but I realized, okay, now that was me falling forward, right? Because then now I realized this is not what I'm meant to do. I'm meant to do something else, right? So after that, I went to do a 6 months volunteer in Tanzania as an environmental advisor. And
Incredible.
I was actually going on to the chicken farms and digging holes to make compost from the chicken manure. And I totally enjoyed it. I'm like, this is what I'm meant to do. But it wasn't paying very well.
Digging holes in chicken farms in Tanzania. Wow.
It wasn't paying well, so came back home after 6 months and started looking for a job. And that's when I landed in Greensaver.
Amazing. From Waterloo to Tanzania, back home to Mississauga, and now at Greensavers.
Yeah, there's one more piece of the story there too.
Please.
In Seattle, I toured this the world's greenest commercial building, the Bullitt Center. Okay. And when I stepped in, I realized, this doesn't feel like I'm in a building. It feels like I'm in a living being, which they won the Living Building Challenge, so it makes sense. Like they were net positive energy-wise, net positive in terms of water and waste. So it's amazing. And I was right then and there was when I thought, you know what, I want to focus on buildings, green buildings. And at first I was thinking commercial, industrial, the bigger size ones, but I landed in the residential space, which is great, which is part of it as well, right? Because residential, there's so many more single family homes, residential condo buildings than there are commercial buildings.
100%. And who knows? This could be a pit stop, just like the holes that you dug in Tanzania in chicken farms.
Yeah.
And who knows where you will go with this? Yeah. I guess it's my turn now, right?
Go for it.
Favorite failures. You do understand I have to do this with podcasts, and every time I have to come up with a brand new favorite failure. Okay. So I have so many failures, and I think I have more failures than success in some ways. So I think within the context, so I too, when I graduated, so I did my computer science degree. I went into work as an IT project manager immediately after I started my part-time MBA at University of Toronto. And once I finished that, and it's funny because back then, building science and becoming an energy advisor and later on a service organization manager was the furthest thing from my life. And because in that vibe, it's all about which bank you're going to join, which consulting firm you're going to join. So in my mind, I wanted to either be an investment banker for the top 5 financial institutions or work for one of the top management consulting firms. Fate would have it, I wasn't good enough. So I remember I went to so many jobs interviews and they all turned me down. And I finally got a job with Deloitte.
Oh.
And there you go. So Deloitte. And then I also had a job from RBC. And those were the 2 options that I had to pick from. And I think 27 with probably $80,000 worth of school debts, I had to make a decision. From the very early on, so that was my first failure. I knew that, you're not good enough to become an investment banker, and you're not good enough to be part of the first tier management consulting firm, the McKinsey, Boston Consulting Groups. I don't even remember their names anymore. So that was a rude awakening right there. But at the same time, I knew that I need something to kind of get out of the rat race. So I immediately started my side gig, and hence the birth to Lumen Earth, which was the solar company that I've decided, I was inspired to do during the course of my interactions at my MBA. Blew all my savings, little that I had, and I think it was like $50,000 over a course of 2 years as I was haggling through and figuring things out in Lumen Earth. Disaster. We got a few jobs, just kind of learning our way through it.
Right.
Installing solar panels on people's roofs. And I remember one day I was pleading on the roof of, what the heck am I going to do with my life? And then all of a sudden, I see this gentleman. Later on, I found out that he's from Amerispec.
Yeah.
And it's Nick that now works at NRCan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He walks into the establishment and then he does his thing and he leaves. And then I've later on found out that he's an energy advisor and there's a fee attached to it. And right then I was like, you know what? Maybe I should be spending more time on the ground and less time on the roof. So Lumen Earth was an absolute failure, but it gave birth to Canada Energy Audit. Right then and there, I realized that, you know what? This is probably something that I want to bet on more. And then I started my career into it. I became an energy advisor. I joined an SO after being rejected again 6 or 7 times. So that was another failure that came with it. And then after a year in the business, NRCan decided to issue an RFP for more service organization. I applied for one. Another year went by and they said yes to it. And I went for training to Ottawa. And then that's how I started my career.
Very nice.
At the beginning, it was tough. At the beginning, I was working at RBC and I was being an SO manager on the side because everything was rebate dependent and you couldn't really bank on it. So it's literally, I had suits on. I would go to work. And then people will call on the cell phone of mine because you would go on the Canada's website, right?
Yeah.
And then I would literally sitting at the table and then my second phone would ring. I would open it up and I'm like, Canada Energy Audit, how can I help you? Yes, I can come at 12 o'clock. And then, so I would book audits during the course of so I would book one like right before lunch, I would book one during lunch, and I would book one after. So I would go downstairs, put on an overall suit over my suits, and I would just go do an audit.
Right.
Come back, do an audit, and come back. So that was my side gig in traction, because you can really depend on it. You wanted to explore the industry and you're passionate about it, but at the same time you have to make ends meet.
Exactly.
So I remember days where I'm like jacked on coffee and energy drinks, and I'm just getting in the elevators, going up and down, and I see my colleagues coming in, and they're all like, it's been such a tough day. I'm just going to take it easy in the afternoon. I'm like, I've already done 2 audits.
Wow.
So that was probably the first 6 months.
Yeah.
And then it continued on in terms of expanding and bringing more energy advisors. So yeah, a lot of hardship, a lot of good memories. You know, like, so if you want it bad enough, there's a way. And it's funny, I've also conditioned myself that now that I start engagements, like I look forward to the failures, and sometimes the engagement is not about the actual end deal. It's about the compliments. Think about it, right? I think we have worked on several initiatives, and we started our engagement probably 8 months ago.
Yep.
And then on the first initiative, it didn't work out, but we kept the relationship, and hopefully on the second and third one, we can actually make something out of it. So the compliments are greatly more important than the end result itself that may lead to failure.
I like it. All
right.
That's very inspirational.
Yeah. All right. What's an unusual habit or an absurd thing that you love to do? I'm changing gear on you.
Old man walks.
Unusual.
Yeah. So like I said, it's been really helpful for me just to have that time to think, organize the monkey brain, as you mentioned. The next step is to categorize it. I think that's a great idea. I will have to
organize the monkey brain.
Organize the monkey brain to the different sections. And yeah, I think that's right now.
I have so many unusual habits. You know, there's a famous quote that I read recently, and it's, normal people are just weird people that you haven't met yet, met thoroughly yet. And everybody has a little bit of a Woody Allen inside them. So allow me to elaborate what I mean by that. So one unusual habit that I picked up is that I have fell in love with sneakers.
Okay.
So I've been buying a lot of like Yeezy Adidas sneakers.
I saw it on top of your office.
Yes, I can't stop. Like if I see one and I enjoy it, I buy it, and I wear them at the office, I just feel so comfortable.
Okay.
It's like walking on air. I'm wearing one right now. I can't stop it, Abraham. I can't stop it.
Oh man.
Adam just actually checked my sneakers out.
When did that start?
Good question.
Recently. A long
Probably
time.
about like a year ago.
How many pairs of sneakers do you have?
I don't want to admit it because I might get judged. Okay, fine. 8.
Oh, that's
8
it?
Yeezy sneakers. I got 8 Yeezy sneakers.
Yeah, I thought it would have been like 200.
No, God, no, not yet. But for me, 8 is quite a bit.
It is quite a bit.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And yeah, it's my unusual habit that maybe I'll just take it easy on it a little bit. What else? Yeah, that's all I want to share today. Let's move on.
One at a time. Next podcast.
In the last 5 years, what new belief, behavior, or habit has most improved your life?
Last 5 years?
In the last 5 years, new belief or behavior or habit, don't say old man's walk, you've already used it twice.
Okay.
Has most improved your life?
Has most improved my life. Last 5 years, eh? That's a good question. Okay.
We're in the business of asking good questions, Abraham.
Yes. And I can see that. I would say in the last 5 years, I've really notched up my curiosity conversations, and it's been bringing up my network, not just Well, okay. I think most of the value of the network that I've been getting from the curiosity conversations is in the energy advisor industry. That's how I met my mentor, Jack Cho. And he's a great guy.
Incredible. I've met him. Wonderful human being.
So much from him. And yeah, so again, don't be afraid to reach out to people that you think, this guy he's gonna be super busy. He's got a few other things on the side and is doing so many things, but he's been really helpful. Like, he never fails to take my calls if I have any questions not related to energy advising or related to energy advisory. This has been really helpful, and we're trying to start something on the side as well.
Talk about that.
Yeah, sure.
Talk about that.
We started a business called Save Our World.
I am an unofficial advisor on that.
Yes.
Although I call it unofficial because they haven't called me yet to ask for advice.
We called you once, and
They've called me once. Correction. There might be another phone call in the works.
We're still trying to figure out where exactly we want to bring this. But
Jack, call me. I'm going to bring you into the podcast.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I was going to say, bring Jack into the podcast. He works, his office is right down the street.
I'm going to drag him next time to here. Okay. All right. Thank you. You gave me good.
And what we're trying to do is we recognize there's a gap. The Greener Homes grant is great, but there's a gap in terms of the energy advisors. Typically, you hire as a homeowner, you hire energy advisor just to do the initial assessment and the post assessment to get you access to the rebate, right? So that is not something that. Yeah. So. What we're looking to do is connect the homeowners with the retrofits. And basically, we want to educate the homeowners to know what exactly they should be doing in their home. Like, there's so many arrays of contractors out there that you can choose as a homeowner. But what is the right way of doing things, right? The energy advisor, that's what they're supposed to be there for. But typically, with the amount of money that we're paying our energy advisors, they're just in and out.
Right.
Because that's how much we cannot afford to spend more hours dealing directly with the homeowners, right?
Or follow up.
You're just there as a conduit to get the rebate. That's it. But there's that gap there between when the homeowner's doing the retrofits versus when. That's why our name, Save Our World, it also means scope of work.
Right.
You can also provide the homeowners a scope of work to ensure that the contractor is doing the right thing, and that you're prioritizing your energy upgrades in the right way. I always say start with the envelope. Don't start with your mechanicals. If you start with your mechanicals, what you'll end up doing is you're oversizing it. Right? Start with your building envelope. If you don't have wall insulation, put in wall insulation. I have been into homes where they're doing their retrofits. I see that they tore down the walls, but then they put the walls on without insulating it. And I'm like, that is a wasted opportunity. How often do you tear down the walls in your home? I would say maybe 20, 30 years, maybe even like I've seen homes 50 years, 100 years old that's still original walls, right? You don't get that opportunity. It's almost like a once in a lifetime opportunity. When you tear it down, insulate it. It's the best time to insulate your walls. So start with your building envelope, then look towards improving your mechanical equipments.
Gotcha. It's my turn again now, right? So, belief, behavior, and habits. I would say habits. Get into the constant rhythm of some sort of a physical activity.
Okay. Yeah.
I've made this decision a long time ago that health and vitality is my number one value. And the notion behind it is if I can't take care of myself, I can't take care of others. You only have one mind and one mind. You only have one mind and one mind. Is that what I said?
Yeah.
You only have one mind and one body. Yeah. And you better take care of it. Yeah. You better take care of it because Last time I checked, you don't get a second chance on these things.
No.
I would say belief, and that kind of ties into the industry and also ties into the profession and to life, is be ruthlessly selfish about what you want and you desire, and have the courage to go after it. It's because the procrastinations and delay in that is the ultimate waste of life.
Mm-hmm.
Be ruthlessly selfish and have the courage to go after what you want. Trust me. If you deny yourself of it, it's just a matter of it reappearing 5, 10, 20, 30 years later in a different format, aka depression, anger, anxiety, and all that negative things that you want. So understand what that ultimate life is. Take the time, take the notes, and really hold yourself accountable for it. And the two other advice kind of feed in and complements the primary one. First one is be patient. The sooner you realize and you build that relationship with time, the easier time that you will have in your journey of discovering whatever it is that you want to discover. So build that relationship with time. Things do not happen instantaneously.
Yep.
Enjoy the game. What's the alternative? Being miserable as you figure it out.
Yeah.
Enjoy the game and really build that relationship with time, like having that healthy relationship with time, which is that element of patience. And the third one is don't judge yourself. In pursuit of that, I used to have a lot of friends that used to pass judgment. Hey, Hamed, why are you doing this? Hey, Hamed, why are you doing that? What's going on? And for the longest time, I used to be, hey, Hamed, how come you're not becoming a doctor? My family, I come from a family of physicians.
Okay.
My dad is a doctor. My brother and sisters are doctors. My mom is a nurse. So I think at some point, it was naturally expected of me to become a physician. Or, hey, Hamed, like you talk too much or you talk very little. I still get that. And for the longest time, I used to be taken back by those feedback, and I think it took me a long time to understand who I am and get to a point where I simply ignore these feedbacks based on the premise that, you know what, you and I are wired a different way.
Yep.
And this is how I'm working. So I am totally okay with juggling 8 balls, dropping 6, and not judge myself for it.
Right.
That took a long time for me to kind of get a grasp on it, but I'm very happy and glad that I'm at a point where I could care less what people think as I play this game. So yeah,
that's good.
Ruthlessly selfish and go after what you want. Be patient and develop that healthy relationship with time. And don't judge yourself. That's the last. I used to swear a lot more. We cut down. Great deal.
Yeah.
Okay. So what are some bad recommendations that you hear in our profession?
Poor customer service. I think as an energy advisor, you are the face of the company. Right, even though you may be an independent contractor, but you walk in as a Greensaver or a CEA energy advisor, right?
Right.
So ensure that you're always treating the customers with respect, listening to their, some homeowners can, rightly so, ask a lot of questions during the audits, because they paid for it, right? They paid some amount of money and not. And they deserve to get their questions answered because you are the expert of their home, right? So take the time, sit down with them. This is what I always do during my energy audits is at the end of it, sit down in the office, in the kitchen, dining table, and just walk through what has gone through in the home and then what's the next steps and all my recommendations. And I spend way too much time in my audits, but I think that's an important aspect because the homeowner's your customer, so make sure that they are treated well. I think that's my advice?
I think the way I would answer that question is bad recommendations. I think one bad recommendations that I hear sometimes, especially that is given to people that are interested to becoming an energy advisor, or people that are like new energy advisors, that it's so difficult. There's no way you're gonna pass the exams. It's like you don't have building science knowledge, and these exams are just so long, 150 questions, 3 hours, and there's no way you're going to get to the end of it. And if you fail, the exams are designed for you. The exams are designed for you to fail, and then you have to do this. It's not worth it, and the equipments are too expensive. Bullshit.
Yeah.
If you want it bad enough, and if you really want to build an industry, and if you're passionate about it, and you understand that it requires time, and you're not going to judge yourself. See, we're going back to the 3 pillars. You will find a way.
Yeah. Agree.
I have trained individuals that had 0 building science knowledge who have been able to become an energy advisor.
Exactly.
And I've trained home inspectors who failed their exams first and second time when they wrote it. It's just a matter of perspective at how bad you want it. Yeah. It's funny. Now, when we try to look for talent, I seek soft skills more than hard skills.
That's the customer service part. Yes.
Right. Like, where is this individual in terms of his level of passion? And more importantly, where is that element of humanity?
Yeah.
I always look for that.
Yeah. I always tell people building science is not rocket science. It's simple. It's simple science.
Because I can teach you the 4 mechanism, air barriers, and how ventilation works, and the different types of installations. But are you a good human being?
Exactly.
That is one thing that I cannot teach you.
Yeah.
And if you are, Adam, you're one of the good ones. And if you are, then we can work.
Yes.
If you're not, doesn't matter if you know that R value of 2.9 versus 3.2 versus 3.9 of different installation value. There is no grounds for us to build upon.
Exactly.
So that's one recommendation I give. If you're passionate about it and you find yourself surrounded by the right service organization that can nurture you. It's funny, like in my first day of training, I always tell people, listen guys, 12 years ago, I had a degree in computer science and an MBA. I didn't know what dam proofing was. I didn't know what backdrafting was. Yeah. AFUE versus COEP versus HSPF. They're extremely important. If you care and you have that element of humanity that allows you to have integrity, trust, just that element of care, you'll go far. Whether it's a profession of an energy advisor or elsewhere, you'll go far. So that's what I seek for more than anything else now.
Yep. 100% agree. And yeah, like I said, building science is not rocket science. We can teach anybody as long as you have the passion and the soft skills. Super
Which actually kind of leads into the next question. In the past 5 years, what have I become better in saying no to? And for me, is like sometimes I see these super incredible, talented people coming through the door, and they just simply do not meet my soft skill standards. And it hurts me because we need business and we need to have build capability. But it hurts me to say, you know what? Relative to the standards that I have set, I have to say no to you.
Wow.
And it's been extremely hard and difficult because I know maybe right now that short-term demand or need will be met, but in 1, 2, 3, 4 years from now, it's not the right fit. And you need to seek somewhere else. So that's been something that I've been training myself to say no to, despite the fact of how incredibly hard it is.
Right.
To you, Abraham.
For me, something that I've learned to say no to is, because right now at Greensaver, I'm managing 2 different teams. There's
Correct.
the energy modeling team, and as well as the energy evaluations, the advisors team. For the modeling team, I think I've learned to say no to, in terms of requests from other departments for our team, to do stuff that will make their life easier, but will make my team's life not as easy. So I've learned to say no to them, saying that I have to protect the integrity of my team. I don't want to, burden them with too much of unnecessary things. Yes, I know it will be better for Greensaver as a whole, but in the sense right now we do not have the capacity, so I have to say no. But we can revisit it in the future if we build more capacity in our team.
Interesting. You know, I think in the larger scheme of things, what I've also learned to say no to is just business ideas that they may sound lucrative and interesting, but simply they're not within my area of competency. And you know, like it's funny, and it's funny that as you become successful and as you accumulate a certain level of responsibility and wealth, you get pitched a lot,
right?
You know, so and I've had to condition myself, and through my failures, that just say, you know, this is not within, like, what is your area of competency? What has got you here more than anything? What's that 90% that have got you here?
Right.
And then stick to that. So it's extremely hard for me still now, but every time I hear an idea around restaurants or Bitcoin or cannabis or like, listen, these are all great. Not for me. I have to step away. Like, I have to stay with what I know. Building science, real estate. That's it. And I think I'm conditioning myself to a level where when these business opportunities come, I just have to remember Hamed. Just don't say yes. Don't say, you know, because that whole on that serial entrepreneurship side, I'm like, yes, oh, what have I got myself into now?
Right.
You know what I mean? Saying no is extremely hard.
It's hard.
You know,
I agree.
All right, I got one final question for you, Abraham.
Okay,
we can wrap this up because I want to be very respectful to your time. If you could have a gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, metaphorically speaking, of course, getting a message out to millions or billions of people, what would it say and why?
It will say save our world, because we are losing it and we only have one world, one earth. There's every single person have the opportunity to do something for the world, for the earth. For us right now, it's homeowners making necessary retrofits in their home to save energy, to move away from fossil fuel burning energy. There's always an opportunity. Like, changing one light bulb helps, right? So don't be ignorant. You don't get another world. You don't get another earth. So take care of what we have right now. And I think that, every single person has the responsibility to take action now.
Okay. Save our world, ladies and gentlemen. That's the billboard for Abraham. Oh man, I have so many good quotes. I would start with like, move! All capital with an exclamation mark. Or breathe! That's another one. I got that from Wim Hof. Okay. Just breathing. But on a softer side, I would say you matter. And I would just leave it at that. Because it does tie into what you're saying in terms of like having that responsibility to take appropriate amount of action as it pertains to your life and how you impact others and the climate. And I think there's a part of it is around like genuinely loving yourself and being a version of a hero to yourself. So you matter.
Nice. Thank you. Oh. Was it for me?
The second one was for you, Abraham. Abraham, pleasure to have you today.
Thank you for having me.
I think this was extremely fruitful, and I look forward to having more structured questions moving forward. You know what I mean? We have met each other about 8 months ago, and I can say that within a profession, it's been an absolute delight.
Likewise.
To have you here, and I look forward to continuing our conversations beyond this podcast.
Sounds good. Thank you, Hamed.
My pleasure.
Merci.
Oh, there we go.